see someone about that, really.
Just in it.
Kelly, obviously, you know I love you. This movie's awesome, and it really just is a showcase of you, which I love. I cannot imagine the emotional and physical energy that went into some of these scenes. What was your favorite challenge of making this movie?
My favorite challenge of making this movie. It was hard, dude. But also, I will say that I went home every day feeling exhausted in like the correct way, in a way that was like, oh, I felt like used today in a good way. I think the whole thing was a challenge. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a lot of physicality in the movie. And there's a lot of emotion in the movie. There's a lot of scenes between me and Miles as well, like that feel emotional, like things that we were trying to work out on the day. It was such a challenge. And I would say the best thing about it was that I had such a great group of people around me. Like Shal really made the environment feel welcoming in a way that I could just like try stuff and be creative. And then I had Miles, who was like so wonderful and supportive and taught me how to knit because I was way too stressed. So all the parts, like you see a very specific thing on screen, but none of that would be possible without all of these other parts like happening in the background. And I think that was probably the best part of it for me, was just sharing these moments with people.
I love that. Miles, I want to hear more about your knitting talents.
Yeah, it's the best thing to do on set. It keeps your hands busy. Here, I can do it while I answer. Knitting is a wonderful hobby. And this year I hope very much to meet a sheep and to shear him and knit a scarf that we can share.
Like really from the whole process from start to finish.
I want to do the whole thing. That's actually my new dream, and it's what I'm manifesting for myself in 2025.
I have that question later, so.
Oh, really? Okay, well then you have your answer.
What are you knitting currently? Like, what are you making?
A scarf. I can't knit anything particularly interesting. I like a scarf because you just go, and then when you run out of wool, it's done.
Wait, he made me a beanie. You made me a beanie.
I made you a beanie.
It was so cute.
And it's not a very, I'm sorry, it's not a very good beanie. I'm not very good at knitting, but I like to do it. I encourage everybody to do things they're not that good at. I think it's good always to try and to.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And knitting, I think, is more about the practice of having something to do with your hands than it is about the product. So.
Yeah, it's like I always have to be kind of doing something, and I feel like knitting is probably my next step in life. I got to be doing it.
It's a good meditative flow state.
Yeah. Now, Shal, I have to say this film uses some like quite unsettling sounds throughout the movie that I think like for me like evoke kind of this visceral reaction, and I don't know if that's intended, but can you talk a little bit about the sound design and how that played into the movie and what reaction you hope the audience is elicited from the audience?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this movie is designed to drive you slowly insane.
It does.
As a viewer, like you kind of want to lose your mind a little bit. Some of this was lost in the edit and some of the things that we had to cut out, but there's definitely like a repetition of everything. In the score, I wanted that like repeating voices, repeating sounds, the sound of the itch just being like a lot closer, like having the itch sounds a little bit louder. Like in the mix and stuff, I would generally be like, I would be turning up the itches and turning up like the impact sounds of things falling. Like that was just like something I would always be doing. And then in terms of the creature, yeah, that we went through a lot of different sounds. I think it's like a lot of different animals combined is what ultimately what those sounds are like. But yeah, I think just like this repetitive kind of droney. I think when these kind of films, you want everything to be louder than it's supposed to be in a non-diegetic sense. Like you want the pipe to be rattling, you want the radiator to be hissing, you want the lights to be buzzing, you want just every environment to be as uncomfortable as it can, like the fish tank in the nail salon to be too bubbly. So you just sort of you heighten all the things around you in the sense that you start to feel like you almost, which I'm guessing, like I don't know if it's like OCD or that kind of feeling you get sometimes in a quiet room where you can just like hear something way too loud and it starts to drive you a little bit insane. So yeah, all the sound is designed to make you crazy.
I think it's awesome that body horror has had like a major moment lately, especially with like The Substance being a part of the awards conversation. I mean, for you guys being a part of a movie like this, like how cool is that to see horror, body horror specifically, kind of getting its flowers and being really respected and taken more seriously in film.
It's rad. That movie was awesome. I think that movie is incredible, and also I think that there's a history of horror films not being taken seriously, but I just think it's such an exciting time for this genre, and I also think this genre is such a cool way to address, a lot of serious themes without it feeling like, oh, we're teaching you a lesson. So that's cool to see. Very cool to see.
Yeah, I love The Substance, and I couldn't believe it took that long for us to do body horror with that subject matter. It seems like a no-brainer that would have been done years ago, but it was so well executed, and I was so happy to see it that, we all have bodies, right? So it's a genre of horror and getting under your skin, quite literally, that is, I think, very effective for everybody. I've already had a lot of friends just from watching the trailer for Control Freak explain that they are already very uncomfortable and already, and I think that's really something that if even the trailer and just knowing what the subject matter is with this body horror is enough to give you this feeling. I mean, that's already that's doing the job, right? And body horror can so easily achieve that in all of us who have bodies. So,
awesome.
What is everybody's sound that irritates them the most? Like mine, like the weird one. Mine is like construction paper. I don't know why. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
My least favorite sound is gated reverb on a snare drum.
Okay.
Ooh, good.
Very 1980s sound, and I don't like it very much. Sorry.
No,
actually, mine is like when you're in a restaurant and it's either a really low voice or a really, really high voice, and it cuts through the frequencies, and I have this like whole emotional turmoil, or just start to like really like, I just hate that person. And then I'm like, they can't help it, that's their voice. And then I start to feel kind of bad for them because they're just like, I don't know if they're aware of it, but there's just some people who have these voices and you can hear like every word they're saying. And it's just very unfortunate. It drives me a little bit insane. In restaurants, particularly with like a lot of reverb.
Mine is probably when I can hear like a high sound frequency that no one else around me can hear, and it just makes me feel crazy. Yeah.
Supersonic hearing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys all so much. This is wonderful. Kelly.
So good to see you.
So good to see you. So nice to talk to you all. And I'll see you next time.
What is it? What is that?